Hello lovely people, welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Molly and I do book content here on YouTube, and today we have the September wrap up to do. I'm actually filming it a day early. Normally I film it on the Tuesday and today is Monday. However, I am going to sleep over at my grandma's again because my uncle who lives with her needs to go away for work for like about 5 days. So I'm going over just to help out, be another person there, that sort of thing. So I know last time I did that, I did actually film a video there, but I thought I would try and do it before I go instead. That way I don't have to worry about it, I don't have to worry about my grandma hearing it, basically. Not that it's anything for her to not hear, but I'm just awkward about that. I'm like, oh, I'm a bit shy. So yeah, I have my bullet journal here. I'm using that now because I have now finished my reading journal that you've seen me use if you've been a regular viewer. Somehow that's a difficult word, but there we go. So I won't have any actual reviews to look at. I will have to just use my brain, but I do have the star ratings, so that's good. So let's get started because I also want to go to the gym before I go to grandma's. So let's get started so we can get it all done. So I'm gonna first do my non-physical books because I do have one or two. So let's have a look where I got up to. So, okay. So the first non-physical book, and I think it's the only one for now that I've actually finished. Oh no, it's not. Yeah, no, there's others. Oh my goodness. I'm looking at the wrong one. Okay, right. So yeah, no, I've got a few non-physical ones. So they're not necessarily in any order when I finished them. I'm just going in order of when I wrote them down. So technically they're in order of when I started them. So the first one that I finished up with non-physical is a audiobook, and that is, oh, that was it. I also took part in Readathons. Okay, so one of them is a readathon that I did not mention in my TBR because I didn't know about it until after I'd filmed it. So that's fun. So that one, because I did write it down, but the one I did mention is the Cryptid Creatures Readathon that is hosted by Teresa from Sweet Tea Reads and Nala from Here There Be Stories. So I did not finish it, but I did get one bingo, I think. So that's good. So in the month of September, I listened to a audiobook, and that is Doctor Who Yeti Attack. That this is from one of the old Doctors, I forget which one. And some pre-Christopher Eccleston and David Tennant. Yeah, and there's not really an author, so I just put the BBC, which is our British Broadcasting Centre, I think is what it stands for, something like that. So that was an audiobook, and I gave that 3.5 stars. I enjoyed it, but I struggled to hear what was going on because it was a dramatised version, so it was like, if you've ever heard of like stories on the radio, there's often sound effects as well. It's often basically like you're listening to a TV show but without the visuals, which is brilliant. Great idea. I would have enjoyed it, and I did, but I missed a lot of it because I wasn't listening to it on headphones, which for me as someone who is hard of hearing, it would have been better to do that. So that's me, not anyone else or the book. Because I would listen to it in the shower or anything like that. So obviously you've got all the shower noises as well as, you know, washing your hair or whatever. So I did struggle to hear that. I wouldn't recommend doing that at least if you have hearing problems. I don't know if you don't have hearing problems, it might not be something you need to think about. I don't know, but yeah. But I did enjoy it. I gave it 3.5 stars, so it's not a bad score. But yeah, the next non-physical book was a ebook. No, sorry, no, that was also an audiobook, and that is the second Vera Wong book, and that is Vera Wong's Guide for Snooping on a Dead Man. Now, technically, I did start it in the previous month when I started listening to the first one, because I thought this one was the first one. But then I realised after a few, like between like 2 and 5 chapters in, it kind of referenced that it probably was a sequel. So I double checked and it was, and I was like, oh, whoops. So I listened to the first one in August. So yeah, so I listened to the second one in September. I started from the beginning just to help jog my memory, but I really enjoyed that. That was a 4-star, and the author is again Jessie Sutanto. I have forgotten again to check who the narrator is for the audiobook. The Doctor Who one was different. It was the actual actors from the TV series, so I don't know the names for those. But for Jessie Sutanto's Vera Wong book, I forgot who the narrator is, but it's the same one as the first book. So if I can remember, I will put the narrator on the screen. But I really enjoyed that. I gave it a 4-star. Again, it was really funny. You get the found family again, because she finds all these new people who she suspects, but then creates into her family, basically. And I'm not down a star for this because there is some harder topics in this one, much harder than the first book. I would say it's not as cozy as the first book, because there is human trafficking story to this, so there's a lot of hard topics with that. There's also abuse in that situation, so just be aware if you're sensitive. I probably wouldn't recommend it. It's not graphic, but because I was listening to it, it felt more graphic, and yeah, it was difficult to listen to, which obviously it should be. But just if you're not aware and you're sensitive, or you've had similar types of experiences, even if it's the abuse bit and not the trafficking bit, just be aware. It was mainly manipulation and physical abuse. So as far as I can remember, there's also what do they call it? Like a scam as well, which kind of alludes to possibility of going further in those relationships with the people they're scamming. But there's nothing mentioned, so I could just be reading into that. But either way, they were, making relationships with these people and trying to get money out of them. So yeah, it's a bit of a harder read. Well, not harder read, just less cozy read. But otherwise, I did enjoy it. It was definitely a powerful read in that respect, and if it helps, it does all work out in the end. If that helps you when you read hard topics like that, if you know there's going to be a happy ending, so to speak, there was. So if that helps you in deciding whether or not to read it, then you know that now. But yes, I did really enjoy it though. It was funny. There was not as much food talk, but there was more tea talk, because she would make her own loose leaf teas and stuff, Vera Wong. So yeah, it was very funny, and you get to see more of her neighbour who has the bakery, so that's good. That's really funny. You get to see them having a bit more of a proper friendship as well, and it was a lovely book otherwise. The harder topics, I mean, whilst they're kind of alluded to throughout the book, it gets worse basically right near the end, just so you know. So the next non-physical book I was reading is I can't tell. the next non-physical book that I read, and I think it was my last one, was Must Love Chainmail by Angela Quells. I don't know if I've said her name right. And this was an ebook, and I DNF'd it. So I've been forgetting to tell you what I've used books for, but that's fine. I can go through that afterwards. But I DNF'd it because it was getting a little bit risque, shall we say. And there were just descriptions where, even though nothing had actually happened yet, there was no, I wouldn't say any actual spice. There were not crude but obvious talk of things like lusty thoughts and mentions of a man getting, shall we say, attracted to the main character, to the lady. And obviously vice versa, she was interested in him, but nothing described like that. So there was nothing actual sexual, but it was definitely to do with that. And I was just like, this is a recipe for spice or open door, so, or at least closed door. So I was like, I'm just not gonna bother if I know this is probably going to come up. So I DNF'd it. Can't remember how far I got into it. I think it was less than 100 pages though, because it wasn't the biggest book, but it was like an average book. It was like about 300 pages or a little bit under or something. So not a big book, but not a really short book either. But yeah, I just DNF'd it because I just knew there was no point continuing it if that's going to happen. So yeah, I don't know for sure, but with the way things were going, I wouldn't have been surprised. So yes, so that's my last non-physical book that I read for the month. Now we can get into our physical books. So should I go and order the list here? Probably. So it looks like I'm going to be going in order of when I read them. Not on purpose, just because of the way it's done. So the first book in September that I physically read was Blood Secrets by Morgan L. Bussey. This is book 2 in the Sky World duology, and this is Christian fiction. And I really enjoyed this. I think I gave it 5, didn't I? Yeah, I gave it 5 stars. Brilliant book. It's a short book. I thought it ended the first book brilliantly. Again, this has a little bit of the zombie stuff. I wouldn't say it's scary. Because it's Christian fantasy / dystopian as well, I guess. Because of the zombies and stuff. Yeah, it wasn't graphic, really. I mean, there's definitely hard topics, of course, because you've got death in it and stuff like that, because, zombies. But I really enjoyed it. I really loved the writing. I loved the steampunk elements because of the blimps, they've got all sorts of words for them, but I thought the romance was lovely. It was so lovely, and I loved all the family dynamics, especially like the found family, because not all families are good, and then some of them are dead. But it was really good. I really enjoyed it. I definitely want to read more Morgan L. Bussey. This is, technically the second book by her, and I really enjoyed it. This is Christian fiction, so I get why people really like her books. I really enjoyed it. Next book was... The next book I finished... if I don't lose them all. Okay. The next book I read and finished was The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst. This is a cozy fantasy with a little bit of comedy as well, but I think it's more cozy fantasy. This I gave 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. It was definitely had all of those cozy vibes. It was very relaxing, of course. Although it did have a few more exciting parts, I guess is the way to call it, because the main character, now I'm going to butcher her name, Keela, I think is how you say it. It's Kiela. and she escaped from the library that she works at in like the main city, basically, or the main island or whatever. And so she escapes back to her hometown and home island, and moves back into her parents' cottage. Her parents have died before this book starts, but she talks about it. I think it's from her perspective, or is it third? Right, yeah, no, I think it's what they call third person, so you're in her head, but it's all she said and stuff like that instead of I said. So I think that's right, I think that's third person. I always get those confused. But I really enjoyed it. I thought the love interest and their relationship was lovely. There were definitely some hard topics, not just because of her parents being dead or the escaping and stuff like that. There's also hard topics because of love interest childhood. It's not heavily mentioned really. It's alluded to and is mentioned probably in the last third of the book, I would say, approximately. Certainly the last half. Well, not the last half, but you know what I mean. the other half. Yeah, it's not heavily described though. There's no flashbacks or anything like that. It's just mentioned. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. There's a talking plant. I love him, and his dynamic with Keela is lovely, beautiful friendship. Well, not beautiful friendship, but it's a great friendship. I really enjoyed it. That his dry humour. If you've ever seen Kiki's Delivery Service by Studio Ghibli, this reminds me of that, mainly in terms of the fact that it's cosy and relaxing, but there are some exciting things happening at times. It's not fully cosy and uneventful is the word I'm trying to say, I think. Because things do happen in this, because obviously she stole the books from the library, so she's been worrying about that, because obviously she's like, I don't want the books to get burned or anything like that, because there's a revolution happening in the main island that she was living in like the capital type of place. So when she escapes, she's taken a load of books with her, and they're all spell books, and she's not supposed to take them, but obviously she's like protecting them, so she's been worrying about that throughout the whole book and stuff like that. So I don't want to say too much because it's I don't want to spoil it for anyone who's interested. Now, there's no content in terms of sexual content. I don't think there's any swearing, or if there is, it's very minimal. But there are a couple of LGBT characters. One of them is lesbian, but you don't really hear much about that. But you do see at the end a budding relationship with another lesbian. But again, nothing really described with that. There is another plant that's around, and that plant is trans. I guess it has they them pronouns, it says, and there's a relationship with that. And I thought the lesbian one was fine, but I thought it felt like the trans character, and I say character is a plant, I thought that felt a bit weird. Not because it's, partly because it's a plant, but I mean, there's talking plants, so, I guess it's kind of different with that, because, the talking plant, Kaz, he's got, he, him pronouns, but, it just felt like the author was ticking a box. She's like, right, well, I need to obviously do some LGBT characters, so I've got the relationship one, gay or whatever, and now I have the gender one, or sept or whatever, whichever way around it is. I think it's the gender one. I always get gender and sept confused. I think sept is what you're born as, isn't it? And then gender is, what you choose if you're in the LGBT community anyway. But it just felt forced, I guess. It just felt like she was trying to tick off a box with the trans character, because it just didn't sit well with me, which is weird because the gay thing was fine, so I don't know why I was fine with that, but I was uncomfortable with the transplant character. But it just I think it's because it just felt like she was trying to tick all the boxes of all of the different letters in the gay community letters. So that just felt weird. I didn't really like that. But again, it's not a big part of it. But obviously, you know, you do you, whatever you like or don't like, you'll probably like or don't like those. But I enjoyed the book as a whole. I enjoyed it enough where I would like to read the second book, which is, I think, The Enchanted Greenhouse. And I've heard, because I don't actually know, and I could be wrong, but I have heard that I think it follows the creator of Kaz. So Kaz wasn't created by the main character, Keeler, to be a talking plant. It was created by a different character who is, like, briefly mentioned, but you don't see this character. So I think it follows them, but I could be wrong, but because I was told by someone else, but I assume they're right, because I don't see why they wouldn't be, but yes. But I would like to read that book at some point as well, because also I just love the covers. This cover is absolutely gorgeous, and you get to see flying cats. There's flying cats. I want a flying cat, except I don't want a flying cat, because they would be even more trouble. We all know it. All cat owners know it. But yeah, I did really enjoy it otherwise. There's lots of really cute animals, like fantasy animals, which was great. You get like bits of mermaids. Obviously, it's called Spell Shop, so obviously there are spells, but it's more herbology sort of spells, kind of like I assume with Harry Potter. I haven't read that far ahead, but you know, you kind of make these growing potions or whatever, and then you say these words. And there is a creation of a coven as well. So it's all about to see how you are with your discernment as a Christian with that. I felt okay, mainly because it just felt like little kids going, oh, let's be a coven, and they're not actually realistic sort of thing, even though they are actually using those spells and those spells are working. So it's not quite like in our context of little kids making spells with their friends or something. Spells, you know, with like shampoo or whatever, like when you're in the bath. So, you know, just use your discernment with that one. I felt okay with it for now. I always have mixed views about it, and I'll mention it with another book that is also magic based. But yeah, I never quite know where I stand with that stuff. So the next book I read and finished technically in 2 days, but I read most of it in 1 day, and that is Queen Buns and Crime by Robin Stevens. This is a companion to the Murder Most Unladylike mystery series. This is a historical mystery for kids. It's set in the 1930s, 1920s? No, I forget now. 1930s, sorry. Early 1930s, like this, I think 1934 is the earliest. I really enjoyed this. It has a few cases that the main two, Hazel and Daisy, did. These are more like minor cases, like the theft of a tie, the theft of a piece of a bun, I think, and stuff like that. It also has extras, so it has things on like creating your own detective society. There are different codes that they show you and that you can also take part in and try it out yourself. Let's see if I can find it. Here we go. So like there's some codes that they talk about, and then they have spaces for you to also write in them as well, which is really cool. I haven't written in it, but I think I would like to and try my hand at those codes myself. Obviously, because I might keep it forever, but I might not. I'm thinking I might do it in pencil, so then if anyone else picks this up, they can rub it out, or I can rub it out before I get rid of it if I feel up to it, I guess. Then they'll have a blank page, and the kid or adult can try to hand at them as well. There's also things on what the main character's favourite fictional detectives, so, you know, like Marple, Poirot. There's also detectives I've never heard of, which is really cool. So that was really interesting. There's also a few recipes, so those of you who like your cozy mysteries with recipes, there's a couple of recipes in this, baking recipes. So that's really cool. So it's not just extra cases that they did, it's also other stuff as well. I thought it was really fun, really quick read. I think I preferred the actual stories, but that's just me. I did still really enjoy it. I gave this one a 4 stars, so it's really good. So yes, I have no content to say because it's a kids book. So yeah, all good stuff. Love it. Oh, I do have to say that there is a case that's mentioned by some of their school friends that did make me cry. It's right near the end. It's more, I think, that more me, and it's the last mystery in the book. I think there's other stuff after this mystery, but in terms of the actual mystery stories, and this is the mystery of the missing bun break, and this is following a couple of the friends of Hazel and Daisy, and there are some hardships that some of these girls are going through in that book, in that short story, I guess is what you could call it. So just be aware of that, because I found that quite emotional. I felt quite protective. Being an older sister as well, I was like, oh, I just want to wrap them up in a hug. And yeah, so just be aware of that, because I did cry a bit. It's not actually because there's any sad parts, it's more that it was me being empathetic or whatever, empathetic. Again, I always get those confused. But yeah, I did really enjoy it otherwise. But yeah, just be aware of that. If you're a bit sensitive, you might find that a bit sensitive. So the next book I read was Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets by J.K. Rowling. This is the second book in the Harry Potter series, and it's in the original covers. I love the original covers. Anyway, funnily enough, if any of you have heard me mention before, I don't know if you have on here, but I know I've mentioned to some of my fellow Christian BookTube friends, it's not easy finding these versions. These are like the original covers, not like first editions necessarily, but they're the original covers that I grew up with, that they initially used for her books. And I love these, and I found it's been really difficult to find them. But funnily enough, I have, since saying that, obviously, it's how it always goes, since I've said that, I'm seeing them everywhere. I might not be seeing the whole series, but I'm seeing lots of the books, which is quite funny. Especially this last week, I saw like loads of them, of like the last 3 of the books, like the really thick ones, and then one of the first ones, I think, the Philosopher's Stone. So that's just really funny. That's just an interesting tidbit. But I gave this 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I always find it really interesting seeing the differences with the films. What I've been doing, which I've also been doing with the Hunger Games series when I've been rereading those books, is watching the films sometime afterwards. Usually pretty soon, so I can still remember and compare them myself. So I did that with this book and film. I really enjoyed both. I love the film slightly more, but that's mainly because I just love Filch. I love, I think the actor's name is James Bradley, or Bradley James. I think it's James Bradley. There's 2 different actors who have the same names but swapped. Yeah, he plays Filch, the caretaker, janitor guy, and I love the actor in the film. I think he does such an amazing job, and you can tell, because Filch, if any of you know the books or the films, Filch isn't the nicest character, but you can tell that the actor absolutely loves playing him, because I love watching him. I think it's just so funny, because he's like the comical bad guy, kind of, but like for kids, if you know what I mean. Like, you could just tell it's really fun to act that sort of character. But I did enjoy this book. my favourite line that Ron says about following the butterflies instead of the spiders isn't in this book. And I'm kind of sad because I absolutely love that line in the film. I live by that line. I am exactly the same as Ron. I would rather butterflies than spiders. Thank you very much. Spiders are useful. Okay, I agree. I love them for catching those flies. But that doesn't mean I have to like them. Stay away from me, please, and thank you very much. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I would say this does have a few things that are more real world magic. So there's like talismans mentioned in this. There's also like a Death Day celebration, which isn't in the film, which I didn't think that was too bad. That was more interesting. It was more just like, it was a party, people just milling around. It's not a long scene in the book either. So I didn't find that too bad. It's not like it was very ritualistic in any sort of way or anything like that. They were just hanging around talking basically, and then the kids were talking about how the food is disgusting because it's the food that the ghosts like, but it's like off food. Yeah, not suitable for alive people consumption. So that was interesting, but I didn't think that was too bad. But that is, if any of you've seen the film, you know that there's Tom Riddle's diary, and all of that stuff felt very much like demon possession, because the person who opened the diary basically didn't really know what they were doing when they were following Tom Riddle's orders, essentially. So that felt a bit like demon possession, because you don't necessarily, I don't know too much about that sort of stuff, but the little bits that I do know, you don't necessarily know what you're doing, which is very much what the character was going through. Even though you probably have some self-awareness, you don't necessarily know at the time and stuff like that. So that felt a bit darker, felt a bit adult really. I wouldn't really want stuff like that in a kid's book, or in any book really. I prefer not to read that stuff usually, certainly knowingly anyway. So yeah, it's interesting reading these books as Christians because they're magic systems. And if any of you watch Bookish Kelly, she was talking about this with the first book, for her, The Sorcerer's Stone, but it's the same one as the one I have, Philosopher's Stone. And she was saying she still isn't quite sure how she feels about the magic stuff. And I told her I feel the same, because I really enjoyed the book. I enjoyed the first one as well, and obviously the films. But I just have mixed feelings about it, because even though it's not necessarily realistic in how magic has been used in the past and is now, it's still magic. There's still Latin, which can be used in magic-y stuff, apparently. Again, don't know too much about that. Don't necessarily want to, even though I do have that curiosity. But like the Bible says, if it's not useful for you to know things like that, don't look into it, you know. So it's all about, you know, your own convictions at the end of the day with that. Because some people do that sort of thing to bring awareness, which is, you know, if that's what the Lord is leading you to do, then that's great. You know, we all need to be aware, you know, wise as serpents, innocent as doves. Oh, I can't remember the whole phrase. I'm sure a lot of my Christian friends will know it, will be able to look it up. So yeah, I'm going to continue with the series because I'm enjoying it, but I don't know how long it'll take, in terms of whether I will DNF it, or if I will, or when I'll finish the series. I'm planning to read book 3 this month in October, so we will see how we go with that. So yeah, enjoyed it, but mixed feelings with the magic system. So just do whatever you feel led to do is all I can really say to that, because I'm not too sure. The next book I read and finished, oh, got to take my bookmark out. It matches. Funny enough, it's probably because they're both penguin. Yeah, the last book I read, and no, it's not the last book I read. The next book is Strange Pilgrims by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. This is a short story collection. It has a lot of different themes in it, kind of like it says on the back really, but all of the characters, or at least the main characters, are all Latin American, and they're all Latin Americans in Europe. So this was interesting though, because it's a short story collection. I didn't end up DNFing it, but the first story I wouldn't recommend if you're a Christian necessarily, because they had in the first story there is because I DNF'd it, I just skipped it and went straight to the next short story because I felt uncomfortable, and because it's a short story collection I didn't feel like I should necessarily not finish the whole book because I didn't know what they were about. I didn't know if it would have more of it, so I was like, well, I'll just try the rest of them and just see how I get on. The first story, certainly in my version anyway, and that is Bon Voyage, Mr. President, it's not tea leaf reading, but it's the same thing but with coffee. So the guy drinks his coffee, leaves a few dregs. I think he reads the coffee grounds that are left in his cup. And I felt uncomfortable with that because that's basically the same as tea reading, it's just a different type of drink. So I DNF'd that short story, and then when I started the first one, I was like, well, let's just see the last page of it, or last couple of pages, and there were still mentions of coffee ground tea leaf reading, and I was like, whoa, I'm really glad I DNF'd that now because I felt uncomfortable, and I was like, well, and the reason why I look back, because I was like, well, maybe it was just that one instance, it could have been an isolated incident. I probably still would have not read it, but I was curious. But then when I read that, I was like, wow, I'm really glad I DNF'd that now. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend that one necessarily. But the rest of the book was fine in that stuff that I can remember. There's certainly one book or short story that I think is very magical realism, I think. I could be wrong. I wasn't quite sure what I was reading with that one. I don't even remember what it's called. I think it was Light is Like Water, I think. And that is on page 157. This is a very short book. There was no content really. One of the books did mention about nakedness, but there was nothing spicy, there was nothing sexual. There are allusions to the fact that they would and were having sex, but like there was nothing actually described. So yeah, in fact, and that particular book, short story is the last one I think, and that was actually quite a sad one. So we'll be aware of that. I didn't really cry with any of the other books, but that one I did cry, because that was sad. It wasn't like massively sad. It's not like when you're reading World War II fiction or anything. But yeah, it was sad. But otherwise, I enjoyed it for what it was, I guess. The short story is difficult to tell because sometimes you like some of the stories more than others. I did give it 3.5, partly because of that first short story with the coffee reading, I guess, is the way you say it. I don't know. But yeah, I do find collections quite difficult to, not difficult to read, but difficult to rate, because sometimes I'm just like, I don't really feel that much about them. But I did feel less like that with this one, which is why I did the 3.5. Some of you might enjoy it more, I don't know, but yeah, I have not put off the author though, because I would like to read at least one of his main novels, like, the 1000 Years of Solitude is a very popular one, or whichever that one's called, stuff like that. So I would like to try him again, but yeah, I'm just never that great with short story collections or poetry collections. For now, anyway. I mean, that could change. So, I have my last two books here, and technically I did not finish them in September. However, I do want to talk about, should I talk about one or both of them? I will talk about them, but I'm going to give a caveat that I finished them in October. So the first one I'm going to talk about, or the last two, is The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. And this is the first prequel from the Hunger Games world, and this is following President Snow when he's a teenager. He's about 18, 19-ish in this book. It is ginormous. It is 517 pages. It took me ages to finish this. I started this on the 22nd of September, and I finished it on the 4th of October. So it took me nearly 2 weeks, if not completely 2 weeks. I did really enjoy it. I gave it 4.5 because I did really enjoy it. I can sort of see why people don't enjoy it, but also I don't. But I think that's more personal preference. Because you do get the whole Hunger Games bit, but it's not a big part of it really. It's more the before and after, I guess. So I can sort of see why people didn't enjoy it, but I really enjoyed it. It was really interesting. It was interesting seeing Snow's background. You can definitely see why he is the way he is. Again, like with all of these books, the whole dystopian government, going against the government stuff, lots of interesting commentary on that, on things like ethics, like the ethics of the Hunger Games. I love Sejanus. He is very much my sort of character. He's like a friend kind of Coriolanus Snow, President Snow, and I did enjoy it. Yeah, there's no content in this other than obviously hard topics with people dying. It was really interesting, the difference between chapter 30 and the epilogue. For those of you who have read it, I don't want to say it because it's not really a spoiler, but it kind of is. But if any of you have read it, did you find that interesting, the difference between the main story and the epilogue? Because there's a difference in one of the characters. I thought that was really interesting. I did see all of the characters as the people from the film, because I have seen the film. I saw that first at the cinema. And like I did with the original Hunger Games, I will also be rewatching the film. I haven't yet, but I will be. So yes, I really enjoyed it. Looking forward to reading Sunrise. I won't be reading it this month in October, but hopefully maybe November. We'll see. But yes, I really enjoyed it. Yeah, I just love the commentary on your upbringing as well, how that can really affect how you turn out in the future. Not necessarily, but it was really interesting to see how easy it could have been for Snow to not be the Snow that we all know, with the experiences and what he could have ended up choosing. He could have been one of those redemptive characters who, goes against the government type of thing, but he didn't. So that was really interesting. I really enjoyed that. Yeah, it's a great book. I really enjoyed it. But I can see why it would put people off as well because of the amount page count. It kind of lends it to the story. So like if you've read Rebecca, that's a very long book by Daphne du Maurier. And that kind of, even though I felt myself it could have been shorter, I could see why it wasn't, because it was kind of slow. You had the atmosphere of it. Obviously less so with Ballad, but again, it kind of lends it to being a bigger book. But I did enjoy it. And then the last book that I finished yesterday, and that was on the 4th of October, and that is The Wartime Book Club by Kate Thompson. This is set during World War II in Nazi-occupied Jersey. And I did start this earlier on in the month, but then put it down. Not as a complete DNF, but just as a not right now, because I wanted to read other books, even though I was sort of enjoying it. And whilst it's a good book, I gave it... I can't find it now. I gave it 4 stars. 1 second. Baby sister. She's your baby sister. Okay. So, yeah. Wartime Book Club. finally finished it. I'm talking about it now because I want to give it to my church member who let me borrow this. I've had it for months. If any of you have known, I've had this on a couple of TBRs. And yeah, it's a good book. I can see why people like this book or this genre, but it's very difficult to read. There were times where I was like, am I going to need to DNF this? Because there were situations that I thought were going to be leading to something, and thankfully they didn't. But especially with the fact that it's war, there is a lot of hardship talked about. There's people who die either because they're shot by Nazis or because of not being able to get the healthcare they need. So just be aware of that. There's a lot. I mean, I'm sure, like with dystopians like Ballad or Blood Secrets, it's those sorts of things. You know, there's going to be sad things happening, but especially with this book, there's also swearing in it. There's just a lot of hardships. I cried throughout the book, but for the last 100 pages-ish, I was crying pretty much the whole time. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend it if you're not in the right headspace or if you're very sensitive. I did like the whole book club thing. I did like the whole, trying to kind of sneakily go against the Nazis in little ways, and all of that. There were two main characters that you go through two paths. There's Bee and there's Grace, and they're best friends. And yeah, I like Grace more, and I basically stuck around mainly because I really enjoyed one of the love interests in this book, and one of the relationships because I thought it was really sweet, because the love interest was a fellow book lover. He loved books and libraries, and I was like, well, we all want that, don't we? So yeah, I kind of stayed for that because I thought it was really sweet. And yeah, I don't know if it's really the type of book I would want to read. World War II specifically fiction, because it's quite hard to read. Just if you're sensitive, I probably wouldn't recommend this book, at least anyway. It was really interesting though, that because obviously it's based on fact, it's based on the true story. At the back there's a lot of stuff to do with it, like the real life people in Jersey at the time and stuff like that. Some of the things that people went through or people did were things that the real life people were doing. So that stuff was really interesting reading at the end. I did skip through a lot of it as well, but there was bits where I did read the whole of, and that was mainly stuff to do with the actual islanders. So what was it called? Inspirational Islanders, and it goes through some of the real life people, and because I wanted to respect the work they did and, putting their lives on the line, and, the price of bravery is another section, so I read all of that as well, out of respect for the dead, because, I mean, probably all of them, if not most of them, are dead now, so out of respect for those islanders and what they went through, I definitely read all of that. It wasn't particularly long, those particular sections, but it was really interesting anyway, because I wanted to respect them, be respectful. So yeah, if you like World War II fiction, I'm sure you'll love this. Lots of book stuff, which I did really enjoy. So yeah, it was a good book, just I don't think it's for me. There are a couple of books that are set in World War II that I did like the sound of, and I might still read those. I don't have them, but that I've heard of. So I'm not taken it off my list completely, that type of book, but it's definitely not a type of book I want to read a lot of. So yeah, so that's all the books I've read. Let's go through my readathons that I did. So first I'll do my yearly ones, and then I will do the monthly readathons. So the first yearly challenge that I did, wrote down, is the Cozy Reading Challenge by Teresa from Creatively Faithful, and September was Cozy Slippers, and that was to read a mystery or cozy mystery, I forget. So I picked Queen Buns and Crime by Robin Stevens for that one. The Princess Bride-athon, I used, where are we? Ruse, Rodents of Unusual Size, for a book over 500 pages. And can we all guess which one it is? Yes, Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Well done. I keep dropping all of my books. So that's the one I did. Then I've got that's by Katie from Paperbacks and Ponytails. The next one is Journey Through Time. This is by Alma, from Alma. Oh, I've forgotten her name. Sorry, Alma. But Alma anyway. Journey Through Time. For Centuries, for September, was Must Love Chainmail, which obviously I DNF'd. Then for the decade, it was the 1990s for September, and I picked Strange Pilgrims because this was published in the 1990s. So that's good. Then I've got Chantel's Read Your Bookshelf Challenge, and for September it was Travel, and so I picked Blood Secrets by Morgan L. Bussey. Then I've got Real Christian Romance by Ursina, and I picked Fall Season, and that is September, All My Secrets. I did not get to this book, so I am carrying that book over into October to read. So I now have 2 Real Christian Romance books to get to in October. And then the last yearly challenge is A Year of Maud, also by Chantel, and that is for September, Anne of Ingleside, and I also did not get to that one. So again, I will be carrying that over, and I will now have 2 Anne of Green Gables books to read in September. So that's the yearly ones. So now we are on the monthly readathons that I took part in. So the first one is Cryptid Creatures Readathon by Teresa from Sweet Tea Reads, and Nala from Here There Be Stories. I did not get a blackout. It was a very big one. It was one of those like 12 ones or something? I don't remember, but one of the big bingo boards. So I didn't get to all of them, but I did double up, so I did get a few different ones, but I did get one bingo. So I read a book of... Did I do that? No, I didn't do that one. So I did A Hool, a book with flight, and I think I probably used either Harry Potter or Blood Secrets, but I can't remember. Jackalope, read historical fiction, I did that one. There was a few I could have used for that one, but I can't remember which one I did. Did not get Book with Pirates, I don't think. Oh, I think I did. I think I might use Blood Secrets for that one, because this has pirates in it. Again, can't quite remember. Mothman, read a dystopian book. I did use that one as well. Again, Blood Secrets for that one. Chupacabra, read a multi-puff book. I don't think I used that one, but I might have done. No, I don't think I did. Mukele Mbembe, probably pronouncing that wrong, I apologise. A book with dinosaurs or dragons, did not get to that one. Thunderbird, book based around the weather. I think I used Harry Potter, or I used Blood Secrets because they were based around the weather. Or I used Strange Pilgrims. One of those anyway. Mongolian Deathworm, book with a desert setting, did not get to that one. Groot Slang, read a hybrid genre, I think I used that one. I might have used Spell Shop for that, but I could be wrong. But a lot of these are hybrid genres, so I could have used a lot of these. Oh, I did do Loch Ness Monster, Book with Water on the cover. I used Doctor Who, yeah. No, I didn't. Sorry, not Loch Ness, ignore me. But I did not get to that one, Book with Water on the cover. Did not get Bigfoot, book over 100 pages. Rougarou is another one, book with an animal on the cover. I used Harry Potter and Chamber of Secrets because we've got Hedwig the owl on the cover. Bloop, a book with noise. I don't think I did that one either. Jersey Devil, a book with family dynamics. Yes. I'm not sure which one I used though. Yeti, book with a cold setting. I used a Doctor Who audiobook for that one. Oh, for the family setting, I think I did Vera Wong, the second book. I think I did for that one. Bunyip, book set near a swamp, bog or marsh. I did not get to. So those are all the Cryptid Creatures Readathon. If I can, I'll try and do the pictures so then you get an accurate representation of what books I read for what. But if I don't, you'll just have to manage. Then we've got the Autumn Reading Bingo by Chantel. Chantel Read Your Day. This is a 3-monthly readathon, so this is from September until the end of November. So I did all 3 that I wanted to do. I did a short story or book under 200 pages. I used Strange Pilgrims because this is under 200 pages. Baking, I used Cream Buns and Crime, and then orange on the cover, I used the Vera Wong's Guide to Snooping on the Dead Man because that had an orange cover. So that's those. And then the last readathon that I did that I talked about is the Back to Hogwarts, and we're in year 2 because it was on last year. And this is hosted by Cheryl from the Candlewick Library, Lucy from the Lucy Chronicles, Kristi from Kristi A. Cole, and Alma from Alma's Book Journey. I remember her name now. Sorry, Alma. So again, I did not complete all of these prompts, which I didn't think I would, but there we go. So I'll tell you which ones I did use. So, astronomy, sci-fi is sci-fi book about space or stars on the cover in the title, and I used the Yeti attack book for Doctor Who because that's sci-fi. Charms, a charming character or cover that charmed you. I used the Spell Shop for that. I also used this for herbology, plants on the cover or in the title because plants. Yeah, that's the only one. And then we've got Defense Against the Dark Arts, Training for War / Good versus Evil / Spiritual Warfare, and I can't remember which one I used for that one. There's a few of these I could have used it for. I might have used it for Blood Secrets, Good versus Evil, and Training for War as well. But I could be wrong. Again, if I can remember, I'll do the pictures. Herbology, I've just done. History of Magic, Historical Fiction. I think I used Cream Buns and Crime because I didn't finish the Wartime Book Club. Potions, a collection of essays, poems, or short stories. I used Strange Pilgrims because this is a short story collection. Transfiguration, a transformation takes place, either one thing turns into another or it's a translated book, and I used Harry Potter Chamber of Secrets because there is transfiguration in this. Ancient Runes, book with a puzzle mystery to solve. I used Queen Buns and Crime again. Arithmancy, part of a series / number on the title. There's a few of these I could have used it for and I can't remember which one. It was either Queen Buns and Crime, Harry Potter, The Spell Shop, Blood Secrets, any of those I could have used it for, or I could have also used it for the Vera Wong's Dad Snooping on a Dead Man. So I've got a few there. I also could have used Vera Wong for the puzzle mystery to solve as well, but again, I can't really remember. Then we got Care of Magical Creatures, a dragon on the cover or in the title. Did not get to that one. Divination, a book you predict to be 5 stars. I can't remember if I did that one. I usually go with the mentality that I hope all of them are 5 stars, so I could have used any. I might have used one, but I can't remember. You'll find out if I remember to put it on the screen. Then we've got Muggle Studies, non-fiction. Did not get to finish. We've got Flying Lessons, inclusive from of air travel. I probably used one of those. I had a few. Because we've got Harry Potter. I'll probably use that one, or Blood Secrets. Then Alchemy, a gold book. Did not get to that one. And then the extra prompt, Time Turner, book about time travel. I did put that in for the Must Love Chainmail, even though it's an extra prompt. And then throughout, well, not throughout the month. So for some of the month, from the 1st to the 18th of September, there was a Scooby-Doo Readathon, hosted by Sonia from Sonia with an I, Amy from Books with Amy Marie, Tiffany from the Beach Bum Bookworm, and Emily from Emily's Epic Reads, I think is her name now. When I wrote this in, it was Emily Reads 5207, but she changed her name, and I think it's Emily's Epic Reads. I'll put the thing on. And this is a dice roll game, and there are 6 official prompts, and then there's a penalty prompt as well. And the penalty prompt is when you get 2 numbers in a row, then you have to read a book that is a scary book. So it could have monsters or the paranormal or villains, or it could be something scary like the size of it or the topic, like page count. Yeah, I found out about this after I did my TBR, so that's why you don't know about it. This is dice roll game, so I used this with the books I'd already picked, and I tried to pick books that fitted the prompts, and thankfully I could. We've got roll 1 is Daphne, and that's a book with a purple cover, fashion, a wealthy family, chocolate, flowers, or spring setting. I used the wealthy family for that one, and for Blood Secrets because one of the characters has a wealthy family. Roll 2 is Velma, book with an orange cover, clues, mystery, STEM, full setting, coffee, strong female character. I used Vera Wong for that one, but I also used Queen Buns and Crime because it's a mystery. Roll 3 is Scooby-Doo, book with a brown cover, or animals, and there's an extra prompt of eat a Scooby snack, have a snack with your book. And I used books with brown cover, I think. Oh, animals. I used it for animal on the cover for Harry Potter, because again, Hedwig. Roll 4 was Shaggy, book with green cover, slacker character, food theme or summer setting. Did not get to that one. I did not roll a 4, so I didn't do that one. Roll 5 is Fred, and that's a book with a white cover, music, sports, a male hero or winter setting. And in the end, I went for Strange Pilgrims. I did actually pick a different book initially, and that was the Wartime Book Club, but I didn't finish it in time. So when I finished this one, I used this one instead. Roll 6, we've got Mystery Machine, and we've got book with cars, travel, journey, transportation theme. And also an extra thing is to jump into the Mystery Machine and race on over to BookTube and go to a new channel or a favourite channel. Did not get to that one either. But I did get a monster penalty. I can't remember which number I rolled twice in a row, but I did get the monster penalty for a scary book. And I think I used this one. Yes, I used this one for it because it's a monster of a book in size. So that's all of my readathons. I did, in the end, even though they finished on the 18th, I did actually continue the Scooby-Doo readathon for the rest of September, just because I wanted to, and I wanted to see if I could get to all of them, all of the prompts. I couldn't, but that's fine. So yeah, but yeah, that is everything I read and all the readathons that I joined in with in September. I'm all done now, so I'm gonna say goodbye. So thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed seeing what I read. Let me know, have you read any of the books I talked about? What did you think? And what did you read in September? Did you take part in any of the readathons or yearly challenges, or did you take part in other ones? I know there's other readathons that were happening. And yes, thank you for watching. God bless, and I will see you all next time. Bye.